G'day and welcome back to another training vlog. Today we've got a bit of a full body power day. Some slightly heavier loads. So I've got two sort of full body sessions during the week at the moment. One's like a little bit lighter and more explosive, and this is sort of the heavier one of the two. Still not like maximal strength or absolute strength. So yeah, at the moment, everything's trending towards that 5K PR in about 6 weeks' time. I'm just going to turn this down a little bit. Sorry about that, gang. So everything's trending towards that 5K PR in about 6 weeks' time. Looking to develop rate of force development, running efficiency, some loaded jumping, some safety bar box squats, upper body movements as far as some like push pressing, some chest supported rows, and then just like a little bit of ankle mode work, some like Tib Ant Raises and whatnot. So yeah, welcome to another vid. Let's get cracking. First exercise we got is just our trap bar jumps. It's nice and simple. Just give everything you got in that vertical motion. We got 4 sets of 2, so let's get ripping. Consideration for anything velocity based is to make sure that you're taking that adequate rest. You know, you want to definitely be taking at least 2 minutes rest in between each of these sets. That's to make sure that we can replicate the bar speed. So we want that same output consistently. So that's where you really got to adopt that mindset of quality over quantity. The last thing you want to do is start turning these power-based movements into some sort of circuit. It's a real trap to fall into because the weight is so light. But you've got to remember what adaptation you're actually chasing. So that rate of force development. So making sure that, yeah, you're taking your time, not rushing these, so that you're able to replicate that same quality over and over again. So next up, we've got some band resisted safety bar box squats. Again, just looking to get that contractility right up. This is going to be a little bit heavier. You'll see the instability when I unrack this bad boy, because obviously these bands, I want them resisting me in that vertical plane after I've unracked them. So, you know, do take your time walking these things out to find your settling point. And then from there, these bands, what they are obviously trying to do, it's like what they call an accommodating resistance. So made popular by Westside Barbell, Louis Simmons. It's going to be lighter at the bottom, so I can really focus on accelerating off that box. And then with that strength curve, rather than that lockout being softer and slower, it sort of just stays on me a little bit more. So you'll really notice that tension not really let up throughout the whole lift. So it's a great way to sort of increase your strength profile all the way through to lockout and get those glutes nice and strong as well. So yeah, let's see how we go. All right, this will be the last set. So I'm only doing 2 working sets on these squats. Just as I sort of work into like an adaptation phase, there's no real need for me to take on stupid amounts of volume. Just get used to this. You know, I've brought in a whole heap of intensity running. You know, this is a whole new intensity as well. So the last thing I want to do is compound that with volume at these intensities that I'm not ready for just yet. So anytime you're changing up a new stimulus, always err on the side of caution those first couple of weeks. Let your body sort of adapt to the new training stimulus, and you're better off sort of underplaying your hand at the beginning of a new block than overplaying it, and then you're having to sort of waste those first 2 or 3 weeks trying to recover. You don't want to be in that exhaustion phase. So yeah, nothing crazy, nothing back-breaking here. It's just about getting good quality reps in, and we can launch from this. Next, we're going to get some upper body movements going. So we just got a dumbbell push press. For these, I just like it, a nice neutral grip. I don't bother trying to pronate or anything like that. Just work nice and explosive in that one plane of motion, making sure I'm still getting adequate hip drive. So from this position here, I'm just looking for really accelerating to the top. I'm not looking to try and get any sort of like catch after the fact either. It's just straight through, nice and strict, and then we reset, go again. Yeah, I haven't trained in this way for a good while. You know, obviously coming off the back of a 100-mile last year, doesn't really pay to move with this sort of intent. You know, you're trying to develop that muscular endurance a lot more than all-out power. So yeah, it's nice to sort of just change things up, get a little bit of freshness mentally, and the fact that everything's just feeling so good injury management wise coming out the back of what's, you know, I'm probably 3 weeks removed from having a month off running. So, you know, even though I never considered myself a runner, I didn't realize how much I started to depend on running itself, and just how much of a emotional stabilizer it is for me, and just offsetting the intensity and focus of lifting itself, even though lifting, you know, is such a great outlet for me, and it's where my bread and butter is. It's where I've made a living before transitioning in towards running and now coaching in this space, as well as just lifting and correctional lifting and injury prevention and post-surgery type rehab coaching. So yeah, it's been a great learning curve, and it's really reinvigorated the last, I would say, 18 months of my, you know, what's coming onto a 13, 14 year coaching career now. So I'm really excited to see where this transition takes me, both in this online space that you're viewing me now, and yeah, who knows what sort of adventures on the horizon, but I'm god awfully excited, and I hope that, you know, this sort of inspires you to not only sort of just test your boundaries, but just explore different training modalities, see what you like, what you don't like, what you can transfer from another field. There's so much that we don't know about the human body and what happens when we, you know, collaborate all these different types of training modalities. And that's what I love about this merging over the last few years of like these big muscular guys working into all these marathons. You know, I feel like most guys my age now entering into their early 30s are like, fuck, I better go run a marathon, you know? Yeah, because I think we're bringing a whole new data set to traditional marathon runners, being lighter guys and girls, obviously. But then equally, now we're getting these lighter marathon-based runners getting and understanding the importance of resistance training for their soft tissue quality. So now you're actually starting to see people who are a little bit more muscled and well developed in that professional space as well. And what sort of longevity and performance improvements are we yet to see in the elite level by this combination? You know, obviously they're not going to utilize resistance training to the greatest extent that I am, because I'm not as talented in that one single discipline as they are. But yeah, as you can tell, you know, I'm rambling a little bit now. I just get so jazzed up about all this shit. It's just so fascinating to me to see what the body can cope with, how far you can push into one space with the combination of another, and when to draw back, and how much can you adapt to, and all those sorts of things. But yeah, anyway, I've rested enough now. This next one I've adapted off a movement of another coach, Alec Blennis. If you don't know who Alec is, I highly recommend you go check his stuff out. The guy is an absolute freak. The strength, speed, power, endurance, he literally is, you know, if you want a pin-up boy for what hybrid training looks like, I think he probably encapsulates that definition more than these Hyrox guys. Like, yeah, he's a true freak. A side bend dip, he calls them. So it's almost like a Copenhagen plank type setup. So we've got our base here. So he'll do them with that bottom leg, and you'll get that big TFL stretch down here before you pull back up again. And he even works up to like weighted variations of this, and his range of motion is really, really good. So, you know, I highly recommend that you just start with like body weight on these. because your QLs will get absolutely smoked. Sort of sink and pull. Yeah, so you can add just a dumbbell on top to progress these over time. But what I want to get out of it as well, getting back to that Copenhagen position, so you'll go top leg on the bench, dip, pull. So I'm trying to use my adductors now. Because that leg is staying straight, you don't get as much bend through the trunk. So it's going to be a good idea to mix both of those variations in. But we definitely want to make sure that we're looking after our groin health with any type of running endeavor. And you're going to have to play around with your position a lot and see this groin is a lot weaker. And alongside our side raises, we're just going to be doing like a chest supported row. So I just utilize an easy bar just so it's a bit shorter, not having to deal with so much weight dispersion either side. And then I find even just that little camber in the bar can just sort of help with grip position at the wrist and help me still get that nice big stretch. So make sure that we're not too narrow, getting that little bit of extension through the upper back, and then we're just hooking back, plenty of intent. Yeah, it's a good spot, that one. Some Tib Ant Raises, just leaning back on that door. All I'm trying to do is pick those feet up as high as I can. Ensuring that I'm using the front of my shin. So Tib Ants, tibialis anterior, it's just sort of that teardrop muscle that you can see at the front of my shins there. Sometimes we can get a little bit carried away in wanting to load movements before really, I mean, you can still see, I've been for a long run this morning, so there's gonna be a little bit of fatigue in there, but just how much range actively I couldn't get into there. So don't be too quick to go loading with like a tib bar, even though they are sort of all the rage at the moment with, you know, the knees over toes guy and ATG squats and all that sort of jazz. So yeah, just be wary that you're utilizing certain movements at the right time in the right context. Essentially just knowing what you need to get a positive stimulus. Sometimes body weight is all you need. Woo. And that ends today's session. As I said, everything was about being short, sharp, moving with intent today. A little bit heavier on the squats, but again, I mean, you look at the bar speed, nothing groundbreaking there, just getting used to this new sort of training modality. I don't want to go moving any sort of loads that are going to compromise the quality of my interval sessions. They're taking precedence at the moment as I try and maximize everything for that 5K. So yeah, the gym is just complementing everything that's happening on the legs from a running perspective, and it was nice. This is my second session of the day, so you've got to be careful with volume and intensity. Again, they're two variables that you're going to get hopefully sick and tired of me talking about, because you'll have such a good understanding from me talking about them all the time. But as someone in their early 30s, it's pretty much all I think about when it comes to training, is how am I manipulating those two variables to make sure that I can do not so much as I can, but get the most out of what I can with my time and effort. And yeah, it was nice. This is my second session of the day. As I said, got out on the trails for the first time in God knows how long, literally months, as I nursed that ITB issue coming out of the back of the 100 mile. You know, everything felt pretty good, but I think I lulled myself into a bit of a false sense of security and brought some intensity back, probably when the body wasn't calling for it. And that's just something that you've got to go out there and learn. Even as an experienced coach of over 10 years, there's just shit that you don't know. And now I know. So yeah, it was great to get back out on the trails. It felt a lot more laborious than I would have liked, but again, we're training for different things, looking for a lot more faster based movement. So I had a fast interval session yesterday, so getting into some elevation today with what was a really muggy morning here. It was never going to feel wonderful. But yeah, it was just great to get out there and experience it, especially on those trails where I completed my first 100 mile. So again, I think it's easy to romanticize, I guess, certain feats that you've had in training and competition. So for me now, coming off the back of that 100 mile in the trails last year, it can get real easy to fall back into, oh, what's next? How can I go bigger and better and this, that, and the other? And stop and forget that there's other physical attributes that I think are still important to develop that, whilst aren't going to be necessarily specific in getting me a better 100-mile time or running further, it's all in the aim of becoming more efficient. And I think you just need to spend time with speed development at some point in time. You can't just keep rolling this one pace over and over and over again. There needs to be that variation in there to create adaptation, because our bodies are so good at finding homeostasis. So if we don't constantly challenge what it is that's happening with a stimulus for the body, nothing changes. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this next 6 weeks. Everything that I've found so far in just the few sessions that I have been focusing a lot more on bar velocity is just that priming effect, and even cognitively feeling a lot fresher throughout the day, even with longer days, or having to focus on programming and stuff like that where I'm concentrating for extended periods of time. I'm feeling pretty damn fresh, and my calories are on the lower side as I try and drop a bit of body fat at the moment. So yeah, it is all a balancing act, but one that I feel like I'm starting to win, which is a great feeling, obviously, when you've got that momentum building behind you. So yeah, there's some exciting things to come after this 6-week block. I'll keep them close to my chest for now, but just know that something in the realm of that ultra marathon space isn't too far away. So let's get through this next 6 weeks, see how much faster we can run that 5K than 19 minutes. And then we can switch our focus to some longer shit. Alrighty, thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one.